statutes and regulations. But the day is coming where the entire world will be subject to 7 laws, and that's it. Okay? How convenient. Just 7 laws. Don't worry about running through a stop sign. That don't matter. They're just 7 laws where you can get in trouble. 7 simple laws. But if you break any one of them, well, and yes, those laws strictly cover the concept of, okay, they're in there. You guys always think about Islam all the time doing that stuff. Yeah, they do that stuff too. Oh, Islam's going to be the whole new world order. No, it's not. It's just one of the daughters of the harlot. Okay? It's just one of the daughters. All right? We're talking about the whole family coming together. Okay? Mother Church, the Catholic Church, are calling all their darling daughters home. And Islam is just one of the harlot daughters. Okay? We do know that the spirit of Antichrist, which is a principality over those laws, was in effect back then. Even Jesus.
Now, of course, you know Mr. J's the devil. That's why I pause it, because we don't deal with Mr. J, of course. But they were real prophets. They gave him the wrong names that said a lot of things, as we already know. Let's go a little forward because we don't need him spewing stuff he shouldn't be saying, right?
Who claim they have a form of godliness, but they deny the power thereof, the Holy Spirit. Okay? That is their form of godliness. If you follow these 7 laws, you have a form of godliness. And, you know, those who are on top, the elite, who are in control of these laws, with their ultimate master, the Antichrist, Satan above them, okay, they look at themselves as gods, okay? And ultimately, in the end, if gods, okay? And ultimately, in the end, if you want to know where the whole end game of the world is heading towards, they want what's talked about in the Georgia Guidestones, the Schmiegel reports, I'm not going to say the word, but you guys know what I'm talking about, and other documents that claim they just want 500 million people left here on Earth. And that 500 million people left here on Earth, 500 million people left here on Earth. And that 500 million people left here on Earth, they're not going to be 500 elite people. No, they're going to be 500 million slaves who took the mark of the beast. And who took the mark of the beast. And then you're going to have a handful of world elite on top of those slaves, those 500 million serving them, because those handful of elites are going to be, you know, little gods themselves. And with the mark of the beast, they could live to be 500 years old or older. And on top of those little human so-called gods, you're going to have the fallen angels. And on top of the fallen angels, you're going to have Satan the cherub. Okay? Slaves, all with the mark of the beast. And of course, Albert Pike's letters talks about once the world gets down to 500 million people after all the wars and everybody exhausting themselves and killing themselves and everything, just think about everything that's happening right now and how it's taking out one single human life at a time, and how they're trying to get everybody sterilized so that way there are no more humans being born. Hey, where have our slaves go? And why am I starting to die here? I thought I was supposed to live to be 500 or even 1,000 years. Well, fallen angels like, well, look, you're still made in the image of God. We can't have you alive anymore. Yes, you were here worshiping us for a time. You know, because the 500 million people will worship the elite small human gods. The small human gods worship the fallen angels, and the fallen angels take the orders from Satan the cherub. Okay, that's the pyramid, all-seeing eye. All right, that's how it all works. Okay, but when the 500 million people eventually die, then the elite, human elite, they will die off too, because the fallen angels like, hey man, you're still made in the image of God. You're still scum to us, and we don't need you no more. So we're just going to let you die, or we're going to kill you ourselves. And then after that, all you have left here on earth are just fallen angels and the cherub, Satan.
I heard the news. I even read the news. Now, Afghanistan heard the news. I even read the news. Now, Afghanistan heard the news. I even read the news. Now, Afghanistan, the Taliban, who's in control of the country right now, they said that they are not going to cultivate nor sell opium any longer. that they saw the devastation of what their youth were on the streets as they were out and about, and how it has a lock on the children with their addictions to this opioids, heroin, as you would call it here in America. And also for here in damn Erica, that you're going to find that your pain medicines, opiates, that some of the people are addicted to come from the opiate. Now, if anybody knows anything about history, you need to go ahead and research and see, where does damn Erica, that's right, put the D in front of America, capitalize the E, where does she get the opiates from? Now, you see, I did my 20 years in the military, and see, I know my so-called veterans who's been over there in Afghanistan, who will sit and tell you they were out there fighting off the Taliban to protect these opiates, so-called farmlands and the cultivation that was going on, that they were over there protecting it, that they felt they weren't fighting the so-called supposed terrorists, they were protecting the opiates, opium, that makes heroin. That's right, Iran, as some say, but think about this. I want you to think about this long and hard. We just sent out our troops, supposedly. They're supposed to be evacuating our so-called people who worked over there in the embassy, and some of the Afghanistans who were also hired as employees and given jobs during this whole 20 years of fighting off a terrorist. That we are removing these troops. But now, just 2 days ago, they said the Taliban, they're not going to be cultivating and selling it. Now, let's see what Dan Erica's move is going to be now. Because them pharmaceutical companies, and those who have investments in them, and in those who are in the drug business, you know, those leaders that you voted for, that have investors, those who have power behind the scenes in the daggone opium business, we're going to see what's going to transpire here in the next month. Because I'm here to tell you, the stories are going to change here quickly. If damn Erica can get her hands on that opium, we going to see the excuse they say now for to send the troops back in there to control it. Because unbeknownst to many, opium is a $1 trillion industry that countries around the world depend upon. And it just so happens that Afghanistan is one of the leading countries that produces it. So don't be shocked. Don't be surprised when you hear, oh, damn Erica has decided to send troops back in. But let me warn you and educate you what's going to come transpire before that even happens. It's got to be a campaign. That's right, propaganda. In order to convince you all, the American people, so that you can accept the troops to go back in. Yeah, what stories are they going to tell? Is the Taliban killing people? Is the Taliban going and massacring children and women? What is the story they're going to tell to be able to win you over, to accept the troops to go back in to overtake Afghanistan? Now, I ain't saying that this is going to happen, but I've been around long enough and serving 20 years in the military that I've seen the things that transpired. I've been over there in the Gulf War. I was over there during that whole invasion of Iraq. I was there when I heard the stories, when I knew the truth. When you see on the news over there, the report CNN was reporting, when I was working in the headquarters and knowing what's going on, and yet they telling lies to the American people. That's right. This is your man. I'm one here to tell you that. The lies that were told through the news that was being reported by the system. We were sitting there in Riyadh, in headquarters over there in Saudi Arabia, the headquarters with General Schwarzkopf, who was leading the way, and General Chuck Horner that I worked for in the 9th Air Force, that he came under General Schwarzkopf, that the stories that were being reported was not true. And so I know, as I watched over these years that I was serving in the military, there has to be a campaign to win the people over so that people will believe that such of something is happening in order to get those troops back over there. Now we're going to sit back and watch the reports of anything dealing with Afghanistan and see for yourself, does the story change? Because they just reported, the Taliban, they're not going to cultivate, they're not going to sell, distribute, manufacture opium any longer. Somebody's upset, y'all. Somebody's mad. And somebody is going to be trying to make way to get back in Afghanistan. $1 billion industry with the so-called opiates just here in alone in damn America. The pharmaceutical companies, how many of the leaders are invested in those companies? How many of those leaders are into the so-called opium, heroin industry? How many of these drug centers out here who are giving people who are addicted to it these other alternative drugs that's supposed to wean them off, that's going to have an effect? Who they are invested in these companies and clinics and pharmaceutical companies. Sit tight, family, and be watchful and be vigilant in the reports that's going to come forward so that you are ahead of the game and don't fall for the story, but that you know it's going to be a big deal. And so while our troops were losing lives to protect the poppy seed, the poppy plant, for opium, for who and for what? Do yourself a favor. Go on YouTube and look up the military troops who were whistleblowers, who were talking about they were over there for just the sake of the opium. Go look up what the reports some of these veterans were talking about. They got them out there, family, and a lot of them are very upset. Some were killed. Some were injured. Some came right back here to damn Erica, and she didn't even help them as veterans to get the proper treatment that they needed. $300 million per day was spent for 17 years. And yet we veterans have to fight to get care.